Radhe Radhe. Welcome to the beginning of another live Sangha. May this be an offering to Sri Radha Krishna. And as we await our first guests to arrive, allow me to set the intentions for this space as being a welcoming, all-inclusive environment open to everyone, regardless of their background, their belief system, or how they're feeling. Hello, Gills. May we come together as fellow spiritual seekers to awaken each other by sharing positive sentiments, relating in one another's experiences, and abiding in joy. I thank you all for coming, and I trust that those who are joining are feeling as well as they can, given whatever circumstances may be arising in their life at this time. Hello, Kayla. Namaste, Sky Guardian. And hello, Rachel Black Moon. And thank you, John F., for blessing us with that rose so early on. Radhe Radhe. And Usha, thank you for your rose. Hello, John F. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hello, Nocturne. Welcome. Hello, Kimmy. Hi, happy you are all here. Since you are all so early, I thought we could open up with a question of the day today. Today, my question for you is, how do you maintain peace during difficult times? It is kind of the ultimate question, isn't it? So please feel free to interpret it in any way you see fit. There is certainly no wrong answer. Hello, Brad. And hello, Danzuela. Thank you. And thank you, Ambers. Rachel, you share that you maintain peace through meditation. I like that. And I also like that I can see my cat's shadow on the wall behind you all, which is very fitting because his name is Shadow. I see Shadow's shadow. Lots of hot baths and books, says Kelly James. Very understandable. Wendy, you share that you maintain peace through smudging, hiking, being outdoors. And hello, Sarah. Nice to have you here. Ambers, you share that you go outside and ground with meditation and deep breathing. Beautiful. John F., you say, honestly, I don't sometimes. And you know, there is a kind of peace that comes from recognizing areas which we could improve. Namaste, Usha. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Salutations to Ganesh. Hello, Alicia. Namaste, Anna. Dansuela, you spend time with your family and give thanks for your connection with them. It's always nice to have a emotional safety net. Sarah, you cry and cry and cry and cry and watch the trees and sleep. Very releasing, that is. Good evening, Steve. And thank you, Kills, for your heart me a moment ago. Radhe Radhe. Good evening, Lori, sorry. And you ask, which negative emotion has the worst effect on the body? Well, in answering your question, we might then use the answer we come to try to minimize whatever that is. Right? Whatever has the worst effect, we want to minimize that emotion. However, in looking at it this way, we may fail to recognize that it is in the maximizing of positive emotions which truly brings us the best health and happiness. Yes, you are very good at saying what you want. Shadow wants me to open the door for him. I'll be right back. Alright. CR, you share that you maintain peace through a sense of community with your friends and family. Satsang, the most important part of spiritual practice, being in good company. Strung by Stacy, you share that you disassociate. At least you're honest. That's quite alright. Good morning, Steve. Danzuela, you say that Shadow maintains peace by having Yam open the door. Yes, he does, and I'm very grateful for him. Well, I'm happy to have you here, Bets. Alright. Looks like we got a bunch of good tips on how to maintain peace during difficult times. I would say that my answer is to recognize the difficulties not as something which takes away from your life, but is giving you a challenge to become a stronger, better, wiser, smarter person. So in the difficulties, we are growing. And that growth gives you an inner kind of peace. And hello, Jarrett. And thank you for your heart me, team bracelet, and cheer you up. Radhe, Radhe. So, after our question of the day, I like to open up with a little reading from a book. Today we are reading Roar of the Ganges, which is a book written by Swami Tadatmanandaji, the guru of one of our Sangis, Sky Guardian, who has graciously offered to send our Sangha the book from his guru so that we may read it together. We started reading yesterday the first chapter, which is the introduction, about his journey to India from a computer scientist in America to find some of the deepest truths that exist in the ancient cultures all around northern India in particular. I am writing this introduction while staying in the Swami Dayananda ashram on the banks of the Ganges River in the town of Rishikesh. I returned to India once again, not for further exploration, but to find an inspiring and conducive place to write this book. Here I have no telephone to answer, no classes to teach, no distractions of any kind. I can gaze at majestic mountains and enjoy the ever-present reverberation of the river while I devote myself to the task of writing. Please do not fabricate an image of me sitting under a tree like the sages who once scribed Sanskrit verses onto palm leaves. I am sitting at a desk in a comfortable room, writing on a laptop computer. But summer weather here regularly drives the temperature to over 105 degrees Fahrenheit. The scorching heat threatens to destroy the laptop's power module, which is too hot to touch. This computer was not designed for such a fiery environment, nor was my sweat-drenched body. A pre-monsoon squall descended from the mountains a few days ago. Its cyclone-strength winds blew down electric power lines and a few rickety shacks nearby. We were without electricity for 2 days. I was grateful for a break from my writing and took time off to absorb the serene beauty of this holy place. The story that follows is based on my experiences in and around Rishikesh in the early 1990s. Some events that occurred on different trips have been combined for the sake of simplicity and continuity. For the same reasons, several characters are actually composites of people I met. Some names have been changed to protect privacy. The translations of scriptural passages are my own. I have attempted to maintain their poetic flow as much as possible while remaining faithful to the original Sanskrit. Part 1. Seekers and Sadhus. Now, moon emoji. You share that you remember a saint. An American engineer lived at our place. You are from North India. Well, his name is Swami Tadatmanandaji, and I don't have a photo of him at hand, but if you Google his name, you can find a picture of him. That's Swami Tadatmananda. I'm sure Sky Guardian, if he is here, would be happy to write that in chat for you. Here we start with a mantra from the Mandaka Upanishad. Parikshya lokan karma jitan brahmano nirvedam ayan nastya kritah kritena. A person of wisdom considers the limits of everything gained through life's empty labors, and abandons vain striving when he understands mere action leads not to lasting fulfillment. Thank you, Sky Guardian. The return to Rishikesh, Tuesday, March 7th. The flight from New York was crowded with vacationing Indian American families going home for a visit. They chatted merrily in Hindi, Gujarati, Telugu, and Tamil, some of India's 14 regional languages. The festive mood on the aircraft excited their carefree children, who ran up and down the aisles playfully. Soon, all would be reunited with families and friends eagerly awaiting their return in places like Tiruchirappalli, Bhubaneswar, and perhaps even in the Gangaikonda Chalopuram. I think I can try that one more time. Gangaikonda Cholapuram. I stared out the window at the clouds below, only dimly aware of the commotion in the cabin. I had flown this route several times before. The lengthy flight had become a tedious routine. It was a trip from which I would never return. This strange thought gripped me. Its finality was jolting, even though I knew I was being overly dramatic. All travelers are changed by their journeys. They return home somewhat different than the wayfarers who had left weeks or months before. I reflected on my journey's purpose, my forthcoming initiation as a sannyasi, and became to the bizarre conclusion that on my return flight in a few months, someone else would occupy my seat. Stopping in Amsterdam, a ragged collection of young tourists boarded the plane. The new arrivals, men with dangling earrings and outlandish hairstyles. I almost said Harry Styles. Women in tattered jeans and heavy boots pranced down the aisles, scrutinized by the New York passengers who stared in disbelief. I smiled and wondered what kind of reception these trendy Europeans would receive in India's undeveloped villages, where barefoot men still guide their bullock-drawn plows over ancestral lawns. We arrived in New Delhi at 3 in the morning. I felt stale and fatigued after 20 hours on the airliner. Weary travelers in the terminal building piled their bulging suitcases onto handcarts. I waited for my bag, recalling the miserable first day of a previous trip when I arrived in New Delhi without my luggage due to the airline's carelessness, and without hotel reservations due to my own carelessness. I was overjoyed when my travel-worn backpack finally tumbled onto the creaking conveyor. I was on my way to Rishikesh, a small town in the foothills of the Himalayas, about 150 miles north of New Delhi. I had not yet decided how to get there. The only train to Rishikesh would not leave until evening. I had taken the bus many times before, but felt too exhausted to submit myself to 7 bone-jarring hours on a dilapidated bus crammed with villagers carrying live chickens and sacks of rice. After a moment's deliberation, I dragged my pack back to the taxi stand. "Sir, are you wanting a taxi?" A young mustached man behind the counter inquired with a thick accent. "What place are you going, sir?" "Rishikesh," I said sleepily. He pulled out an official chart showing the distance and fares to various destinations. He pointed to the entry for Rishikesh, 490 kilometers round trip. The fare was 3,900 rupees. I knew this was more than 3 times the standard fare. "Yeh bahut adhik hai." "That is too much," I said in Hindi, attempting to convince him that I was not just another gullible tourist to be outrageously overcharged. We bickered for 10 minutes and finally settled on 2,000 rupees. Still exorbitant, but I was too tired to haggle any longer. 2,000 rupees is a week's salary for many breadwinners here, but due to the favorable rate of currency exchange, the 5-hour ride costs only $60. The streets of New Delhi were still quiet at 6 in the morning. The driver steered his antiquated ambassador onto the bridge over the Yamuna River, and soon we were passing through Ghaziabad, Meerut, Muzaffarnagar, and Urukki, towns familiar to me only because the buses to Rishikesh stop at each of them. Towards mid-morning, the narrow highway became congested with speeding cars, buses, and roaring trucks whose horns seemed to shriek, "Get out of my way!" These vehicles shared the undivided road with hordes of scooters, bicycles, and even bullock cars. Children walking to school had to scamper to safety when cars careened onto the wide dirt shoulders. It has been said that people here are highly religious because with only God's grace can you reach your destination safely. To the uninitiated, traffic here looks like sheer chaos. But on closer inspection, I discovered that everyone follows two basic rules, and no others. First, the larger vehicle has the right-of-way. This rule is obvious to anyone with an instinct for survival. Second, each driver is responsible only for what takes place immediately ahead. This rule apparently allows drivers to cut each other off, to pass on either shoulder, and to abandon disabled vehicles in the middle of the road. We passed the mangled remains of a bus and truck still sprawled across the roadway after a head-on collision. In spite of God's grace, serious accidents are a common occurrence. Before lunchtime, we arrived in Rishikesh, the self-proclaimed city of sages. My tattered guidebook says in quaint Indian English that Rishikesh is the gateway to the kingdom of gods. Pilgrimage to sacred places in holy Himalayas began from here. Known from days of yore as a celestial abode, Rishikesh is famous all over as a center of saints and sages. Weary pilgrims can get peace of mind here in many ashrams on the banks of holy Ganges River and receive blessings of pious sadhus. Sadhu is a generic term for sannyasis, yogis, and holy men, hundreds of whom have chosen to reside in Rishikesh. Each summer, thousands more sadhus pass through here en route to pilgrimage sites in the Himalayas. The town's name comes from a Sanskrit epithet for God, Rishikesha, the Lord of Perception. Sometimes its name is incorrectly, but amusingly construed as Rishikesha, literally meaning the hair of the sages, obviously referring to the astonishing dreadlocks worn by many of the itinerant holy men. Near a temple I saw a few who had wound their matted hair into tight buns on the sides of their heads, as ancient sages did once. I wondered if they might inspire the young travelers from Amsterdam to start a new fad in hairstyles. The driver threaded his way down the plain clogged with people, bicycles, and wandering cows. We passed through the main bazaar, where hundreds of tiny shops crowded together along the road. Songs from popular Hindi movies blared from tape players on both sides. On the open counter in a sweet shop, foot-tall pyramids of tasty confection swarmed with flies. The air was thick with dust and smoke, and occasionally the pungent smell of urine. Every time I came to India, my senses were overwhelmed by the profusion of sights, sounds, and smells. I knew that in a few days my senses would again become acclimatized. Beyond the bazaar, we found that the bridge crossing the river Chandrabhaga's wide bed had been reduced to rubble by last year's monsoon rains. It would probably require a couple years to be rebuilt at the usual pace of work here. We crossed its dry riverbed on a temporary road that would certainly be washed away in the next monsoon. Turning away from the main road, we crept through a maze of narrow lanes, stopping once to allow a listless cow to amble out of our way. Finally, we arrived at a metal gate whose sign announced in Hindi and English, Swami Dayananda's ashram. I sent the driver back with a generous tip. Then I hoisted my backpack and opened the gate in the masonry wall encircling the ashram grounds. Inside, stucco buildings stood on the left and right, facing a large central courtyard. Ashram grounds. Inside, stucco buildings stood on the left and right, facing a large central courtyard. Seems that my internet disconnected me for a second. Do let me know when I have returned. It's back. Thank you for letting me know, Shakira. Alright, why don't we leave there actually? We reached Swami Dayananda's ashram, and later on in this live we may continue his journey. Swami Tadatmanandaji's. We are making our way through the plot as Swami Tadatmanandaji is making his way to spiritual renunciation. Alright, let me minimize the book cover. Now, I thank you for reading with us, and I'm happy that you enjoyed the chanting, Saturnus. We'll do some more chanting at the end of this live stream. And thank you to those who sent a gift whilst I read. I am much behind on my gifts, so allow me to extend my gratitude back to you now. And thank you, Sunshine. And thank you, Diana Scully, for your heart me many minutes ago. Radhe Radhe. And thank you, G, for your pair of roses. Hari Om Tat Sat. And thank you, LG, for your 8 roses. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Thank you, Esther, for your rose. And Jarrett, thank you for another confetti. Thank you, Alice, for your heart me. Radhe Radhe. And Tattvam Asi, thank you for your quartet of roses. Hari Om Tat Sat. Thank you, John, for your hand hearts. John F, that is. Yes, I know your name is Gina G. G is short for Gina. But I can call you Gina if you'd prefer. And thank you, Queen Rock Forever, for your heart me and your rose. Radhe Radhe. And thank you, Esther, for your rose. And Divinely Chosen, thank you for your heart me and team bracelet. Jai Sita Ram. And thank you, Queen Rock Forever, for another team bracelet too. And thank you, Northern Fae. I am doing well. I had a nice day in the sun, looking for 4-leaf clovers. Didn't find any today, but I certainly got my hands dirty. And thank you, Monster, for your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 roses. Radhe Radhe. Chris, you had asked, what do you think about death? As much as it's spoken about, do you ever think it would be nothing? Just ask the Buddhists if it's nothing. They say, I wish. I've been trying, but every time I die, I come back here. I can't seem to escape life. They call that samsara, the endless cycle of births and deaths. And thank you, Hybrid Jen, for your pair of roses. Radhe Radhe. And Shakira, thank you for your heart me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And thank you, MJ, for your quartet of fires. Hari Om Tat Sat. Thank you, Giggles Mekhaha, for your rose. Jai Sita Rama. And Count Svengali, thank you for your rose. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And BB, Thank you for your 16 roses. And thank you, Dylan, for your rose too. Radhe, Radhe. And thank you to everyone else who is very graciously patient as I extended my gratitude to those who sent a gift whilst I read. Spend serious, you were wondering, do you think that our loved ones reincarnate with us? We are always surrounded by our loved ones from endless past lives. We have had so many past lives that everyone has taken turn being every kind of relationship you could have. I am sure that one of your cats were once your mother, that the worm in the dirt outside your house was once your brother, and the seagull flying above was once your significant other. We have not one soulmate, but infinite of them. And through infinite lifetimes, we dance every kind of dance conceivable with all of them. And thank you, Giggles. You too. Shakira, you're wondering, who is that from the sticker pack? That's Jagannath, the Sanskrit word from where we get the English word a juggernaut. But Jagannath is one very auspicious and abstract form of God. It's often painted on a rock. Just two eyes, maybe a big smile. Very abstract personification and ancient personification of God. Mr. Mate, you share that your wife still has some seagull tendencies, eating off my plate. Thank you, Dylan, for another pair of roses a moment ago. Radhe, Radhe. Did I happen to notice what the music was that came on after the chanting last night? I'm afraid not. However, I could always go into my YouTube history and see which one it was for you. If you can remind me, maybe text me. And thank you, Hybrid, for your rosa and finger heart. Ariom Tat Sat. And Mr. Blue, thank you for your trio of ice cream cones. A pair of trios of ice cream cones at that. Jai Sita Rama. And Spend Serious, thank you for your quartet of roses. Om Namah Shivaya, Kalkiji. And that's quite alright, small. May your sleep be restful and your dreams meaningful. And I'm happy that you found the stickers, MJ. And thank you, Kalkiji. I am well, thank you. I hope you are well as well. And thank you, Mio, for your rose. Radhe, Radhe. And good night, Esther. Yes, I'm aware it's quite late in other parts of the world. Do tune in on the last week of the month where I do an earlier time for my earlier time zone viewers. And Shakira, you ask, would I ever add more stickers? I'm at the limit. I think I can do up to 32, but I could definitely replace one of them with a Sandy sticker. I would love that. I'm sure he would too, in theory. Kalkiji, you share that you are always well, even when you are not. Jai Shri Ram. It's 2 a.m. for you, sunshine. You are up very late, and that's okay. bangos, you are wondering, what do I do for work? Fortunately, what I make in offerings from this live stream is enough to cover all my basic expenses. And I'm not an expensive person. I don't drive a car. I don't eat that much. I don't have insurance. MJ, you would love a drop-in from my mama. Will she ever join again? Perhaps. She knows to leave me alone while I'm doing the live stream. But perhaps I can invite her, so you can get her darshan, the Sanskrit word meaning the blessing of seeing her. Sunshine, you share that you're waiting for your son to come home. Well, that's a very honorable reason to stay up, like a mother, like my mother. She won't go to bed until she knows I'm okay. She wouldn't go to bed until she got my good night text when I had moved out. It'd be 12 in the morning. She'd text me, still waiting. Okay, good night, Mom, I love you. Okay, I can sleep now. Thank you, John, for your tiny. Yippee! And Alexandra, thank you for your quintet of roses. Radhe, Radhe. Once a mother, always a mother. It's like what the Buddha has to vow, to see everyone as your mother. Every being that you come in contact with was once your mother in some past life. So, should the respect of our mother suddenly vanish from lifetime to lifetime? Of course not. She says, I love you forever, not just until you die. Maybe couples till death do you part. But the love of a mother, now that transcends birth and death. So, like the Buddha, we should honor all beings as someone who was once our mother, even if they have forgotten themselves. And Shakira, you share that maybe I was my mom's mom in another life. I was probably always nervous. Indeed. And that would make the karmic balance whole again. I am your mother? Okay. 3 lifetimes from now, you will be my mother. And then you will have to take care of me, since I have already taken care of you. Hello, Aliak. And thank you, Leire, for your heartbeat. Radhe, Radhe. Count Svengali, you ask, is there just Earth or multi-dimensions? I like your question. It's very mind-expanding to think about alternate realities and parallel universes, other dimensions. Why don't we dive into the word dimension? Let's say you're ordering a custom-made purse from some designer. They ask you, what would you like the dimensions to be? Well, I'd like a portal to Asgard and the 6th heaven and, why don't you throw in a doorway to the netherworld? The designer says, what? I'm just asking you what its width, length, and height are. Oh, dimension. But it's from the same word that we get the concept of other worlds. Dimension, in a mathematical sense, means an independent direction upon which a variable may range. So 3D objects, we say they're 3D, three-dimensional, because they have three qualities which can vary independently: their length, their width, and their height. But similarly, there are more than just spatial dimensions. We also have a temporal dimension. Einstein says, hey, if you invite me to a party, I don't just need the 3 coordinates to define where it is on Earth. I also need a 4th coordinate, when the party is taking place. Otherwise, I could show up at the right place, but at the wrong time. So we consider time as a 4th independent axis in which events take place. Then quantum mechanics adds many more. String theorists add many more. Our own personality has so many dimensions to it. Independent qualities that can range along axes. For example, you could be this much funny, that much handsome, this much intelligent. Our character has so many qualities. Its dimension is surely infinite. Spirituality is all about exploring the various dimensions within ourselves, from our openness to our humility, compassion. These are all dimensions within us as well. And thank you, E.T., for your rose. Radhe, Radhe. And Mr. Blue, thank you for your trio of ice cream cones. Mr. Mate, you share that you're conflicted by the Buddha's choice in abandoning his family to pursue enlightenment. Any thoughts? It's a commonly overlooked part of the Buddha's life, is that while he was a prince, he did have a wife and a son. And you know what he named his son? Fetter. It means ball and chain. Like a tether to the world. And without telling them, he left. So the Buddha was one of those fathers that actually left. But history doesn't remember Prince Siddhartha Gautama for that part. They remember him for being a Buddha, the enlightened one. So why did he leave his wife and his son? Well, for a couple reasons. The first is because he knew that being attached to them would only impede his path to spiritual liberation. That all beings get old, get sick, and pass away. It is from a deeper sense of love for his family that he left, so that he may return one day with the secret of enlightenment. And indeed, he did. After enlightenment, he returned, and of course, they didn't want anything to do with him. And so his son, now a little grown up, said, Sir, you were once a prince, and now you have given it all up, including me. To make up for all this lost time, would you, at the bare minimum, give me your old princely belongings? May I inherit your riches? And the Buddha said, I have something much more precious for you than anything material. And so he began to teach him in the way of the Dharma, and awakened in him the spirit of a stream enterer, one to take on the spiritual path. And indeed, all of his family members did. He gave the Dharma to his son, his wife, his father on his deathbed, which attained nirvana. But there was one missing, his mother, who had passed away before he was able to. So he went into meditation and ascended to the heaven in which she had reincarnated, and from there gave the Dharma, and then went out of meditation, returned back to his body, and continued being the Buddha. So although he did abandon his family, as the Buddha he returned and gave them the key to enlightenment. And thank you, Tiffany, for your heartbeat and your hearts. Radhe, Radhe. Mr. Blue, you are wondering, do I think the Mahabharata describes a nuclear event? They do describe many different weapons which can destroy the whole universe. And who is to say what is possible? Not I. If I was there, I don't remember. So I'm not a primary source on that matter. What I can say is that, like all spiritual texts, if we focus primarily on the historicity of it, then we lose sight of the spiritual truths that are embedded in it. Such is why most people don't read the full Mahabharata. They only read the Bhagavad Gita. And in the Bhagavad Gita, none of the plot actually takes place. The only physical thing that happens in the entirety of the Bhagavad Gita is that Arjuna asks Krishna to bring his chariot to the front lines. And then everyone starts blowing their conches. And then that's it. The rest of the book, nothing physical takes place whatsoever. Arjuna doesn't even shift in his seat, nor does someone else walk up. It is all spiritual truths just being told, transcendental to the setting. And thank you, Grace, for your rose. Radhe, Radhe. And Laudomia, thank you for your rose. Jai Sita Ram. Grace, you ask, how can you learn to make true connections with people? True connection is a synonym for deep connection. And to maintain that deepness between you two requires being open. We can open ourselves. This much is difficult, but we can never open others. They may open naturally on their own accord, and the only way we can be conducive to that is by not putting pressure on the other people to open. just like a flower closes itself at nighttime and opens itself again during the day. At nighttime, you might come, go on your knees, start pulling open the petals of the flower, trying to open it up, and you'll only end up hurting the thing. Its petals will fall out, you might break its stem, and it'll wither and die. But in the morning, without any effort, the sun's warmth and light naturally allows the flower to open. Likewise, when we are open as individuals, without any effort, the warmth and light that radiate from your heart may open others, but we don't try to pull them open in the darkness of their soul. Thank you, Chris, for more ice cream cones. Radhe, Radhe. Sky Guardian, you ask, how do I like that new Bhagavad Gita? Oh, very good. I like it. It's a good middle ground between the Bhagavad Gita as it is by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and some of my other ones, because I really like seeing the original Sanskrit. And there isn't much commentary. I didn't even see any. But inside, there's just translations of the Sanskrit. And I like that. It doesn't break the flow of the story. You can come to your own commentaries. So thank you. And Akatosu, you are wondering why there's no more videos on my account. Those were so good. Well, I appreciate that you had a fondness for them. I must admit that I did too. And it was a big decision on my part to take them down, because I certainly wouldn't be who I am today without the journey that I took many of you on through the videos on my TikTok account. However, in the background, yes, I was making videos on mind-expanding topics and concepts. But in the background, my heart was not open. I was still suffering from fear, anxiety, depression. Because of that, I discovered that there is a new approach. There is an alternative way of viewing the things I want to put out there into the world, which don't involve creating mind-expanding content, because there's no shortage of that. People don't need another reason to be kept awake at night. What people need is to be understood, to feel validated. And thank you, John Simon, for your heart meet. Radhe, Radhe. And Ka, thank you for your rosa. Hari Om Tat Sat. MJ, you were wondering, do I still struggle with anxiety? Naturally, anxiety is a precursor to a lot of sensations. And if we let that precursor blossom, it becomes something different. What we get stuck in is during this opening of the heart, so many sensations rush in, then we begin to try to close it. And it's like a dam breaking on a massive river. And you can try all your best to try to patch it up. And you might temporarily succeed, but it's only going to open in a few hours again, or in a few days, whenever. If you allow yourself to open without fear that it's a bad sensation, when the sensation is invited, without worry, anxiety quickly turns into a kind of bliss. It sounds so weird to put it into words like that. If you let your anxiety blossom, it turns into bliss. It's the resistance to it that makes you feel unwell. And thank you, Grace, for blessing us with a rose, or gracing us, I should say. Radhe, Radhe. Alienated, you share that you imagine things are getting worse so that they can get better, yeah? Sometimes, indeed, in order to build something new, we have to deconstruct the old, and it's in the deconstruction of the old that we may begin to feel nostalgic or bittersweet, lose hope. But that foundation that's left at the end of the deconstruction serves as a platform to build something even more sturdy. And thank you, Dogmata, for your heartbeat. Radhe, Radhe. And strung by Stacy. Thank you for your flowers. Jai Sita Ram. Unknown, you say that I seem like a very, very peaceful person. It's taken a lot of effort. Staying positive, even amidst adversity, is a difficult skill. And I think all of you are certainly worthy of surmounting that difficulty too. Sky Guardian, you are wondering why the screen is washed out. Did I change the contrast? Or hue? There are different effects that I can turn on the camera. Yes, this is a glowy kind of effect. I'm experimenting. Yesterday, I accidentally turned on an effect which gave me makeup. I didn't even notice until 15 minutes into the live or so. I kept it on anyway. Trying out a couple of them. Shannon? No questions are stupid or out of context. You are always welcome. Do I believe at love at first sight? There are moments where our heart opens and our mind quiets, like upon seeing a brilliant sunset Your breath is taken away. You are just in awe for a moment. By the sight alone, part of you just quiets, like we were waiting to see it. And we are reminded of beauty. Of course, there are many love stories which begin with a single glance. And there are just as many love stories that begin with anger as enemies and then frenemies. One of the most amazing things about love is that it comes in no form. Love breaks boundaries, dissolves borders. Whatever you expect of love, there is an exception to that rule. And thank you, Mahina, for the choral. Very beautiful. Radhe, Radhe. San, you ask, do I fast? I slow. In my dreams, very slow. You ever get that? You try to run in your dreams and it's like you're in honey or molasses. I have never gone days or weeks without eating. Well, I think I've sometimes forgotten to eat during a day once. But that's different. Fasting is a conscious process where we actively delay the mind. We can fast many different kinds of things, not just foods. Anytime we consciously delay sense gratification, we gain leverage over the mind. And one method of delaying sense gratification is to offer it to nobody, to God. That is true sacrifice. Mahina, you are no longer Kona girl. Well, thank you for updating me. Yes, I recognize your last name now. And thank you, Tatwamasi, for your team bracelet. Radhe, Radhe. Welcome back to reality. You're wondering, what is even fasting for? Well, oftentimes, the source of suffering is in not getting what we want. We could be at a bus stop and we want to get on the bus, but it seems like you missed it. It's 5 minutes late, 10 minutes late. We're starting to get frustrated. We're hungry. We want to eat. We're cold. We want to get warm. We're wet. It's been raining. We want to get dry. Fasting is a kind of austerity. Austerity is when we intentionally deny ourselves something we want so that we deepen our contentment with discomfort. So, a true practitioner of austerity, what they do is they deny themselves the pleasure of food, of warm clothing, of taking an umbrella with them. They don't sleep on comfy beds. They sleep on the floor. They don't eat meat. They only eat vegetables. They take cold baths. They wake up early. Is it because it feels good to do any of these things? No. Is it because they want to do any of these things? No. It's so that they deepen their contentment with discomfort. Then when anything comes their way, they are peaceful. They miss their bus. It's just like I'm fasting. They're cold. It's just like my cold showers I take. They're tired. It's just like waking up early in the morning. We do all these things as spiritual seekers, not because someone has told us to, but because it increases our willpower and our ability to be peaceful no matter what circumstances happen in our life. Thank you, Douglas, for your heartbeat. Radhe, Radhe. Much love to you, and L Wave Rider. Thank you for your rose. Hari Om Tat Sat. Well said, Saturnus. Growth lives and breathes beyond the comfort zone. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. Yeah. Sonic Bloom, I like your name. You ask, do you watch any anime? I'm not in the circle. I haven't been initiated. Like how certain mantras, they require initiation from a guru. Like the Gayatri mantra, it's used for initiation into studying the Vedas. Om Bhur-bhuva Svaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat. Likewise, you gotta get into anime from someone who also is into anime. They say, I'll give you my Crunchyroll password, then it's all over. I haven't been initiated. Hello, Skibbity Doo. Grace, you ask, what's your favorite movie? Well, I've been watching the Twilight series for the first time. Maybe too much. I had a dream I was one of the Cullens last night. Not actually, but they welcomed me as part of their family, like Bella. And we were hanging out. It was nice. Had a good time with Edward. Pretty chill. I have seen the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's a good metaphor for the spiritual distinction between devotees of Nirguna Brahman and Saguna Brahman. Right, Sky Guardian? Hello, Maria Elizabeth. I did take down my videos. And hello, Simone. Yes, Twilight is the vampire movie. 2001 A Space Odyssey is also a wonderful movie. Hello, Stephen. Josh, you ask, how could you test the spirits? If you wanted to test if the spirit exists through empirical means, you're out of luck. Because the definition of the spirit is that which is subject to the objects of the world. Meaning that it is not one of them. Consider, for example, the concept of space. Not just outer space, but space in general. Everything exists within space, including you, right now. You are held up, so to speak, in space. How could we touch it? How could we see it? How could we hear it? Well, we can't do any of those things because space is what allows all of those things. Sounds reverberate through space. Light propels itself through space. Heat, cold, the sensation of touch, that all exists in space. So there is no instrument that can measure space itself. We can only measure things, objects within that space. Likewise, the spirit, soul, consciousness, awareness, that which you are is beyond scientific measure. Whereas science is the study of external objects that appear to us through observation. Spirituality is that of the spirit, the subject of observation itself, the observer, the witness. Chris Martin, you share that you got bitten by a bat last night in your dream. Well, in your next dream, you must be a vampire then. Thank you, this is my show, for your hanging lights. Radhe, Radhe. And Paloma, thank you for your friendship necklace. Jai Sita Ram. Mahina, you ask, Yam, if you could ask Krishna a question personally, what would you ask? I would ask, how can I be of service to you? Because ultimately, knowledge alone cannot provide fulfillment. I could ask, what really happens beyond the event horizon of black holes? I could ask, what did it look like when life first began? How did the Big Bang occur? And I might be satisfied for a while with that knowledge. But then what am I going to do with it? Ultimately, we beings are servants of the universe. So in what way I can be of service to the universe, that is truly what I wish to know. Thank you, this is my show, for another heart me. And Audrey D, thank you for your quintet of roses and heart me. Radhe, Radhe. Strung by Stacy, you shared a few minutes ago that you tell people when you hold a door open for them that it's all about time and space. That's good. That's good. G to Infinity. Yes, 7 Years in Tibet is a great movie on the Dalai Lama. And thank you, Grace, for your rose. Radhe, Radhe. Josh, you had shared that one of your main pastimes is occupying physical space and time. Indeed. You couldn't imagine my second favorite pastime. My Lily, you share your aspiration for us to pray for you since you are alone. I hope being alone isn't necessarily something to pray for. Solitude can be a method for ourselves to discover our independence and get in touch with parts of ourselves that we might not share with others. So I pray that you find the value in being alone. And that it becomes a beautifully transformative time for you. Welcome back to reality. You were wondering, who is Krishna? Well, why don't we ask Krishna himself? Among weapons, I am the thunderbolt. Among cows, I am Kamaduk, the desire-fulfilling cow. I am Kandharpa, Cupid, the god of love, the cause for offspring. And among serpents, I am Vasuki, the serpent around Lord Shiva's neck. Among the Nagas, the many hooded serpents, I am Ananta, also called Sheshanag, the 1,000-hooded divine serpent which forms the bed of Vishnu, Krishna's supreme form. Among the aquatic beings, I am Varuna, the god of water. Among the ancestors, I am Aryama, the god of the world of the ancestors. And among the regulators, I am Yama, the god of death. Among demons, I am Prahlada, who, born in a demon family, was a great devotee of Krishna. Among reckoners, I am time, which ultimately neutralizes everything. And among animals, I am the lion, the king of the jungle. Among birds, I am the Garuda, the divine king of birds and the vehicle of Vishnu. Among purifiers, I am air, capable of carrying away all the dust of ignorance. Among the wielders of weapons, I am Rama, the greatest warrior and the best among men, a previous incarnation of Krishna. Among fishes, I am the shark, the most dangerous. Among rivers, I am the Ganga, the divine river. Among creations, I am the beginning and the end, and also the middle, O Arjuna. Among knowledge, I am the knowledge of the self. Among debaters, I am the logic itself. Among letters, I am Alpha. Among compound words, I am the dual compound, the pair of two words often used to signify the relationship with Krishna. For example, Radha Krishna, divine feminine and masculine. I am also infinite time. I am the creator facing all sides. I am also the all-devouring death, and I am the origin of all that which is yet to be. Among the feminine attributes of nature, I am fame, beauty, speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and forgiveness. And among hymns, I am the Brihat Sama, the difficult to sing divine hymns of the Sama Veda. Among poetic meters, I am the Gayatri, the most chanted Vedic mantra. Among months, I am the Marga, Shishra, the refreshing winter month. Among seasons, I am the flowery spring. Anyway, this goes on for many, 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 many pages. In chapter 10 of the Bhagavad Gita. This is sufficient to say that Krishna is everything and everyone at all times. And thank you, Adi, for your heart me and team bracelet. Radhe Radhe. Hello, Michelle. You are an hour and 20 minutes into the live. And thank you, Mihai, for your heart me. Jai Sita Rama. And thank you, Lily, for your heart me and quintet of team bracelets. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namaste, Nacho Biz. He is humble, says Strung by Stacy. In that chapter, not so much. In other chapters, he's very humble. You know, he is God. But at the end of saying some sentences, he'll just say, that's my opinion, though. While he's speaking to Arjuna, his devotee. God's allowed to have different opinions than you, which is beautiful. Never forcing you to do anything. It's just my opinion that you do this. But as a divine offspring of that source, you also possess free will. Thank you, Grace, for your rose. And Lily, thank you for another quintet of tiny tinies. Yippee! And thank you, Mihai, for your team bracelet. And Usha, thank you for your rose. Mihai, you share that you miss your bro, but they're far from you. They may be distant in space, but in time, you are both now. And you can't get any closer than now. And thank you, Mahina, for your 40 roses. Radhe, Radhe. Michelle, you share that you were actually listening to my live from yesterday on your way home. And then you realized that I was live right now. Stephen, you say that I speak a lot of sense for a young guy. It's really nice to see. Well, you should see me off camera. I'm a big fan of speaking nonsense to to the dismay of my family members. Welcome back to reality. You ask, so correct me if I'm wrong, but do you believe in a number of gods, or is there a certain one? Consider walking through a swamp with many ponds of water. In each puddle, you see the sun being reflected. One person could say, is there one sun or many? There are many reflections, but one sun. Likewise, there is one source of existence, but expressed in many ways. No matter what God you believe in, we all come from the same one. We disagree in the ways in which we represent that one. And that's no fault of our own. Because part of the infinitude of that source is its infinite ability to be represented. Thank you, Gentry, for your rosa. Radhe, Radhe. And thank you, Grace, for your finger heart. Here's one back for you. And for your pair of roses. Jai Sita Ram. Simone, you ask, do I know the culture of Dudism? It was born for a joke in a movie, but has also taken hold in real life. That sounds familiar. Maybe you can remind me. At the top of my head, I don't remember. But that is right. Abdilobi. I did used to make videos on math. Hui, you are wondering. Or it's Huey, perhaps. What language is that? Radhe, Radhe. Hari Om Tat Sat. Jai Sita Ram. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. These are all Sanskrit mantras, the mother tongue of humanity. Remember in Genesis, the Tower of Babel, humanity all spoke one tongue, and then we all separated in our languages. Well, Sanskrit, as Proto-Indo-European, was that mother tongue. It's still spoken, even 5,000-10,000 years since it was in common tongue. It is the language of spiritual scriptures, which often then get translated through many different languages. But you can still learn Sanskrit today. It's not a difficult language. In fact, in some sense, it's the most easiest language possible, because it's the original human language. Everything just makes sense. There are no exceptions like in modern languages. It's I before E except after C, and also all these exceptions like weird. There you also put the I after E. No, in Sanskrit there's only one way to sound something out, one way to spell it. It has a certain meaning. The letters are not arranged in some random order. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. No, we have the vowels first, then the consonants, and the consonants form a two-dimensional image called the magic square. Simply by knowing the coordinate of the letter tells you how to pronounce it. The letters themselves have meaning in relation to how your mouth forms them. When you bring your tongue close to a part of your mouth, that means you're bringing two concepts together. As such, for example, the word yoga it might be translated to union, but that's because it starts with yo. The ya brings two parts of your speech close together, the tongue and the soft palate, yo. And the word o is really a balance between ah and u. Halfway between them is o. Ah is the primal sound of existence, u is how we contract it when we want to propel it. So, o represents that which is halfway between absolute and pervasive existence. Finally, ga is made by a soft impact at the back of the mouth, so it represents bringing those concepts together gently. Therefore, the word yoga means the gentle impact arising from the relationship between absolute and pervasive existence. We came to this answer simply by noticing how the meaning may be symbolized by the way we pronounce it. That is why Sanskrit is not an invented language. It is a realized language. When we think about the sounds we are saying, they have an inherent meaning. Modern languages don't have this, except for things like splash, pop, crack, bang. They sound similar to what they're conveying. Sanskrit takes that one step deeper, in that the way in which we form them with our tongue, teeth, and lips, the relationship between all these moving parts, set forward in motion, the very meaning behind them. Thank you, Ragnhildur, for your trio of roses. Radhe, Radhe. I'm happy that you're enjoying the book, Alice. Jackie, you share that you can't roll your R's. That's okay, I didn't either until I started studying Sanskrit. The thing about Sanskrit is that it teaches you how to pronounce it. What is the R sound? Well, you could say it's just one of the sounds. In Sanskrit, it has a very precise definition. It is the approximate formed by making your tongue retroflex. Approximate means that you bring an organ of speech close to another without touching and simply voice it without aspirating. Like ah, e, oo. We never actually make two organs of speech touch. In English, we have a hard time rolling our R's because we don't actually say the true R. The true R brings our tip of our tongue back to the hard palate, about a centimeter or two from where our teeth are. It's difficult for English speakers, so we only simulate the sound by bridging our tongue up so that we don't bring our tip of our tongue there, we bring the bridge of it. And of course you're not going to roll your R because that's not how the R is truly pronounced. Instead, curl your tongue back and voice it like you would a vowel. Don't try to make a consonant sound. Make a vowel sound like ah, e, oo, simply by putting your tongue back. You'll get it. And thank you, Mihai, for your team bracelet. Hariom Tat Sat. And thank you, Jarrett, for 55 roses. Jai Sita Ram. Now, Lily, you had asked where/how did I start studying Sanskrit? Just from the comfort of my own home. Through the internet. You just look up the alphabet called the Abugida, and you start learning the sounds, and then you very quickly realize that even the sounds have such a rich spiritual meaning. And there's many YouTube videos and websites that can help you use the internet. But when? Just a few years, on and off. You'd be surprised how easy it is to learn a lot of Sanskrit in a single day. And thank you, Mihai, for your cheer you up. Hariom Tat Sat. And thank you, Gentry, for your whipped coffee. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Strung by Stacy, you're asking, what about the D sound? It's the same in Sanskrit, but there's 4 different variants of it. There's the unaspirated da, but there's also the aspirated da. And then there's the retroflex unaspirated da, and the retroflex aspirated da. English does not differentiate between all 4 of these, so it probably sounds like the same. But they are 4 different sounds. And that's quite alright, Jarrett. Thank you for being here. Sebastian, you are wondering why my eyes are so dilated. When you become open to life, you'll be surprised the symbolism that this human body already imposes. Haven't you noticed? When someone is very angry at you, look at their eyes. You'll notice that their pupils are very small. Or if someone is very tired, they haven't slept in a long time, you'll see that their eyes are mostly iris. They're not letting that much light into their eyes. Likewise, when someone's in love with you, all you have to do is look at their eyes. Are their pupils big when they look at you? There was a TikTok challenge a few years ago where you'd listen to an audio while recording your eyes and then imagine your crush kissing you or something. And many people with powerful visualizations were able to record firsthand that their pupils enlarged at the thought of something lovely. Likewise, without any substance, it is possible to be open to life and experience the love within everything. Naturally, your eyes will dilate, just the same. Thank you, Jarrett, for your 10-finger hearts and gifting a subscription to Lily, Sherry O'Connor, Sonia Marie, McLean, and Rain. It's very wholesome as always. I hope that you all enjoy your sticker packs that are graciously given to you on behalf of Jarrett, and I look forward to being in service of all of you. Radhe Radhe. And thank you, Priscilla, for your rose too. Jai Sita Ram. Sean Simon, you share that today you spontaneously started singing the Om Mani Padme Hum, and it gave you such positivity. I love hearing that. Mantras are great. That's for sure. We all have that faculty in our brain, which is replaying conversations, replaying our favorite verses from songs or choruses. Sometimes we call it an earworm. Other times we drive ourselves crazy thinking over what we said. But we can actually utilize this part of our brain or our mind, like through chanting, powerful affirmations, like geodes. We begin to hit on them. A crack appears, and there is beauty inside. So too, mantras like Om Mani Padme Hum, literally in this case, refer to the jewel at the center of the lotus. We may find it simply through chanting. And thank you, Mihai, for your team bracelet. Radhe Radhe. The melody of that mantra is also very catchy. I agree. And thank you, Mahina, for your galaxy a moment ago. It's very kind of you to gift something so humbling. Radhe Radhe. And thank you, Priscilla, for your heart meat. And this is my show. Thank you for the paper crane. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And Mihai, thank you for your team bracelet as well. Michelle, you share that you often find yourself unable to disentangle from these worries. You make an effort to be present. You tried physical activity and mindfulness practices. Sometimes the pressure to be present is one of the things preventing us from being present. We feel like I should be happy. If I just tried a little harder, maybe I wouldn't be so sad, so afraid, so angry. However, sometimes affirmations can take us away from acknowledging the reality of how we are feeling in this moment. You could tell yourself, everything is okay. The present moment is all there is. But we ignore that in this present moment are feelings that require our attention too. Like our resistance. Maybe it's okay not to be okay. It's okay not to be fully present. It's okay not to be happy. Be present with those things too. Be present with the worry, with the stress, with the anxiety. Presence isn't what's waiting you after the negative emotions dissipate. They dissipate through our acceptance and presence with them. And thank you, Lily, for your quartet of roses and pair of tiny dinies. Yippee! And Ginseng, thank you for your finger heart. Radhe Radhe. And that's quite alright, Chloe. I hope I wasn't distracting you from work. MJ, you share that you feel guilty when you're stressed or anxious. Right? Because we feel like the best version of ourselves is made possible through more happy emotions through joy, fearlessness. And the way to get to those things is to work through what we may be feeling before they arise. It's a beautiful thing to want better for yourself. And it's an even more beautiful thing to accept where you're at now, because that acceptance serves as the foundation for change. Anna, you ask, do you have enemies? All my enemies exist inside myself. Whereas before, I used to project those qualities onto others. This was a mistake, and that truly, I only have love to offer people. If they don't want to accept it, there's nothing I can do to force them. I respect free will and their ability to choose who they associate with and where they get their love from. I believe that everyone is just a little misunderstood, and those who might appear as an enemy especially need love. Dominique, you ask, what is your favorite mantra or chant you do to relax and de-stress? My favorite is the Maha Mantra. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. It's kind of a do-everything mantra. The power you give it is unlimited. And that's one of the abilities that is described to it in the Kali-Upanishad, that the set of these 16 words, 32 syllables, they form a mantra which has no qualifications. It can be chanted in any form, at any speed, at any tone, in any place, while doing any activity. It becomes like an amplifier for all good qualities that we bestow upon it. Thank you, Angelina, for your rose. Radhe Radhe. And thank you, Sage, for your rose too. Hari Om Tat Sat. And thank you, Mahina, for your rose. And Audrey D, thank you for your dozen roses. Tracy Dace, you share that you're learning the harmonium and chanting. What a lovely experience that is. All my best wishes to you on that journey. And thank you, Stephen, for your rose. Radhe Radhe. Little Wing Nico, you share that you like the saying, "No scar on my heart has ever come from an enemy." Well said. Sap, you share that today you are feeling sadness. Any suggestions? Feel that sadness. when we try to avoid sadness, that's where we end up doing things that we regret. No one has ever become more sad by allowing themselves to feel that sadness, uninterrupted, without judgment. Sadness is part of the full range of human emotion that you are born to experience. You're not born to experience nothing but joy, but to experience the highs and lows of life. With this in mind, even sadness can become beautiful, can be a transformative experience, and I hope that you utilize it to grow and deepen the spaciousness in your heart. Thank you, Stephen, for your rose. And Kia Gypsy, thank you for your 7 TikToks. Jai Sita Ram. Gio, you share that you have felt grief and the love that was connected to that deep sadness. Yeah. Beautiful, isn't it? And Tracy Dace, you're listening to Awakening Shakti. Do you know it? Shakti is what we are. An ancient and often unknown name for God is the Shaktiman. The potential, you could translate it to. And what arises from that potential is the Shakti, the potency of the potential. In Western terms, we might call the Shaktiman by the term creator. And what has arisen from the Shaktiman as creation, the Shakti, as apart from the Shaktiman as creation, the Shakti, as a part froze. On my end there is none. I seem to be getting your comments, and there isn't a warning, but Michelle says I'm back. That's good. Interesting. I'm not sure why that is. Didn't disconnect on my end. Nonetheless, I'm grateful to be back. And thank you. Am light, you ask, am I always this calm? And that's a difficult question to answer, because there's no way of proving to you. You could only take me at my word. However, you can try your best to provoke me. And if I bite, then that's a good indication that no, I am not always this calm. And thank you, dirty hippie gypsy mom, for asking. I am having a good day today, thank you. Radhe Radhe. Do I have a flute? Asks, ooh. No, I do not have a flute. Unlike Krishna. And much love to you, Danielle. Thank you. Kaisa, you had shared that you were painting to this live, hoping to be inspired. Well, that is lovely. I hope you find inspiration. I agree. Flute does have a peaceful sound. And hello, Alexis. Happy to have you here. I'm like, you are wondering, what do I do when I'm not on here? Well, today I went for a walk near the beach and I was digging for treasure. That's why my nails are all dirty. You can see I've got dirt under them. I was digging in the beach, hoping to find something cool. I found a piece of a toilet. That was pretty cool. And I was laying in the grass looking for 4-leaf clovers. Didn't find any of them either. And I hung out with my cat. Sandy was stuck in a tree today, but he found his way down, so I was just watching him. What else did I do today? I was learning some Sanskrit from my Sanskrit textbook. And I watched an episode on this I don't know how to describe it. It's a YouTube video on the Upanishads and a reenactment of someone being initiated into learning Sanskrit, which was nice. And thank you, MJ, for your hand hearts. Radhe, Radhe. Alexis, you shared that you love searching for things on the beach. My happy place. It's amazing what can wash up on the shore. Strung by Stacy, you ask, have I heard of a creator Nova on TikTok? No, I am not aware. Tracy Days, you share that you're learning through chanting, and what a great way to learn that is. It is said that in the Kali Yuga, this era, the one pathway to cross the ocean of Maya is through chanting the glories of God, which is very strange. You ask a philosopher, how can we be happy? You ask a scientist, how can we be happy? You ask a politician, how can we be happy? You might get a variety of different answers. But if you ask an ancient sage, how can we be happy? They say in this age there is only one method that truly works, and that's Nama Japa, the chanting of the holy names. What does this mean? Does this mean that there's some magic sound that when you say, you suddenly get happy? If only it were that easy. Consider how everyone hates math class. It's so boring, they say. It's true. Math class is pretty boring. But some parts of it are very interesting. Everyone knows pi, but no one remembers the quadratic formula. Why? Because the quadratic formula is arbitrary. It's to find the zeros of a parabola. But pi, that's a number that has mysterious qualities to it. It's infinite. Its digits never repeat, and yet its value as the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter is seemingly set in time from eternity onwards. Who decided in these values? 3.14159, blah blah blah. Why is it exactly that in between 3 and 4? What secrets lay hidden amidst its infinitude of digits? Could you find every combination of numbers, from your phone number, birth date, to the day that you die? Now that seemingly unimportant, practically speaking, fact of life that you learn in math class is what remains in people's minds. Of all the practical things they taught you, something about the nature of infinity is what actually sticks with you. It opens you up, makes you wonder. And this is what Nama Japa means, that the only way to truly be happy in this age is to meditate on infinity, on the qualities of the divine, the innumerable facets of existence that make you wonder. Think about nothingness, true silence, and also of eternity and everythingness. Think of love, think of light, think of all that infinite potential, and your heart begins to open. Your mind begins to silence, and you awaken. This is why the ancient sages say, the only way to truly be happy in this age is to chant the glories of God, is to contemplate on infinitude, lest you become absorbed in the finite, in the temporary, in the impermanent, and the unsatisfying. Exactly, like the Library of Babel. It does have pi energy. Alexis, you ask for thoughts on demons. Lately I feel like I see so many people carrying around so much evil. Humans are a mixed bag. We have our defects and we have our virtues. There is no shortage of defects in anyone, and no shortage of virtues either. Naturally, our mind has a negativity bias to it. A fish in the ocean may be surrounded by negative stimuli and positive stimuli. The negative stimuli might include being eaten from a larger fish. The positive stimuli might include eating something nice yourself. If this fish misses but one negative stimulus, that could be it. Hum. But if it misses one positive stimulus, there's plenty of fish in the sea. I could always eat something else. Evolution has given us a negativity bias for our own survival. But now that we're at the top of the hierarchy, we have civilization. We don't need this negativity bias. We don't need to be on the prowl for a tiger jumping at us from the bushes. That stuff just doesn't happen. Yet, our mind is still in the past. It is projecting tigers onto everything. Haven't you noticed? When you are very overtired, you start seeing things in your peripheral vision. We're running on that backup survival circuit. There could be anything. You gotta be very careful. Likewise, when we focus on the defects of others, like all of the evil things that they may be carrying, then we are only giving in to our negativity bias. It's important that for us to become truly happy, that we search for the good in people rather than be bogged down by all of the bad. What we see in others, so too we cultivate. When we see goodness in others, we become good ourselves. No, we should not be ignorant of the suffering that can be inflicted by others. But we should have the benefit of the doubt, not attribute to malice what could be attributed to incompetence, and just have a kinder appreciation for the struggles that people go through and how much trauma that we all have experienced. I would be angry too. I would be mad with the world too if I was traumatized in the way that some people have been. So we can't hold it against people for carrying evil when there's so much of it in the world. What we can do, however, to start to quench the fire is by looking for the positive, staying grateful, and keeping ourselves uplifted. When we try to minimize the negative, that's an endless battle. We should instead, in our spiritual pursuits, seek not to exorcise all the demons, but associate with all the angels. And there is an angel on everyone's shoulder. And thank you, Sonia, for your rose. Radhe, Radhe. And thank you, Ji, for your pair of roses. Riom Tat Sat. Dirty hippie gypsy mom. You shared that a little girl was singing Let It Go on karaoke the other day, and I lost it hard. That's lovely. Yeah. Very powerful. It's funny, kids are so young, and yet their souls are so ancient, screaming at us from eternity. Goodbye, Priscilla. Happy to have you here. Miso, you had asked that you feel like the flame inside you is always dim. Does anyone else feel this way? Absolutely. Yeah. Fuel to the fire. What is your fuel? In high school, I took an electronics class. There we discovered, as fellow classmates, the nature of the LED, the light emitting diode. When you apply voltage through one part of it to the other part, it lights up. But if you switch the current and put the positive on the negative and the negative on the positive, then the LED doesn't light up. Which is interesting when you think about it. Why would which direction that the electricity flows make the light light up or not? It has a direction to it. Now, if you have a powerful enough voltage, You can switch the positive and the negative, and the light might flicker, but it also may burn out. It's like forcing it to run in the wrong direction. Likewise, the light within ourselves glows the brightest when our electricity is flowing from one direction to another. What is this direction? It's inside to out. When we become a vehicle of love, sharing it with everyone, then the fire in our heart erupts. Our light glows very brightly. But if you try to switch the current and try to contain love yourself, you try to take it from the world, consume. You eat something that makes you feel good. You listen to something that makes you feel good. You look at something that makes you feel good. When we are trying to take the energy of the world and cherish it ourselves, with a powerful enough gratification, your senses might be able to give you a momentary flicker of happiness. But we're running our circuit in the wrong direction. We need to switch the positive and the negative, and take love and let it flow outward instead of inward, so that we don't become recipients of this energy that we are trying to get from the world. See, you are already divine. You are already whole. You are already infinite. If you try to satisfy the infinitude of your soul with the finite world, of course, it's not going to work. Switch from inside to out and let that divine bliss pour out of you into the world. Then you can truly be happy. And that fire inside you is not going to be dim at all, but it's going to be erupting from you like a volcano. Kaisa, you ask such a beautiful question. How can everyone emit, but not supposed to receive others' emissions? Now, that is where the second part of this process of karma yoga comes in. Karma yoga is the process of this, that we achieve union through our actions, our seva, by taking the source within and putting it out into the world. But if everyone's doing that, where is it supposed to go? When we receive energy from others, what are we supposed to do with it? Do we say, no, I'm a giver, not a receiver. I don't want your love. What we do is offer it to the source of existence. We receive love from someone else. We say, wow, this love that I have received is only because I exemplified some quality of the divine which I have inherited from the source. Therefore, this love is not mine to receive. Allow me to send it upwards and outwards. Everything that we get, we then use that for bhakti, for devotion. We do karma to emit and bhakti to receive. This process balances the outward and the inward, the Shakti and the Shaktiman, the Purusha and the Prakriti, the Yin and the Yang. Bhakti is one thing that builds on itself. The more we give, then the more we receive, so that we may give even more. The universe keeps an eye on you. And yes, I said your name, Purusha. When the universe sees, here is a giver, let us give them even more resources so that they can give even more. And then there's infinite ascension. Just as Saturnus puts, receiving allows others to give, and you try not to rob people of the great pleasure that is given. Precisely. Thank you, Usha, for your hanging lights, your octet of roses, and a little crown. Jai Sitaram. And Ron, thank you for your heart meat. Chris, you say it's the secret sauce of the game. Give everyone a kiss, and then you get a chance of winning. That's funny. I like the way you put that. And Amelia, you ask, what happens when people don't receive what we give? We may offer, but we never force for them to accept. We put that aside for them. If you want it, it is there for you. If not, I will offer it to someone else or someplace else. Bing bong, you say. So, each planet has its energy. But where does the energy, such as pieces and whatnot, come from? Consider all of the weather patterns that happen on this planet. Cyclones, tornadoes, sunny days, rainy days, hail, snow, El Niño. All of these weather patterns get their energy from convection. Heat dispersing from one place to another. And it eventually radiates out into space as infrared. There is heat left over still from the supernova that formed all of our planets. That heat is inside of the Earth mainly, with magma or lava. But the energy on the surface, it primarily comes from our sun. It's our sun's light which ultimately drives all the convection of the atmosphere. It's the sun's light which gives energy to the algae, the grass, the trees, and then people feed on those, and then bigger people feed on those people. I'm talking about the animals. But where did the sun get its energy? Its energy came from a previous star that went supernova, forming a stellar nebula. Where did that star get its energy? Well, from its previous star. Where did that star get its energy? That's where it gets difficult. From the source. No matter what you are referring to in existence, when we keep asking the question, well, where did it get its energy from? It ultimately comes from the source. Now, where did the source get its energy from? Nowhere. That's where the quest of questioning stops. It simply is. The effulgent nature of its own accord. Ra'id Hanun al-Sabah, you ask, where can we get wisdom? We get wisdom from the analysis of our experience. We can read the words of others, but it doesn't constitute wisdom until it connects with something we've experienced ourselves. And that requires introspection. Through processes such as prayer or meditation, when we cognize our own experience and pick out lessons through inductive reasoning, we may find out for ourselves how our actions shaped where we are in the present. Through direct experience of life, we come to understand it ourselves. The works of others may accelerate that process because they might put into words something that you hadn't put into words yet. That's not to say they're giving you anything new. They're just rephrasing your own experience for you. And hello, Shingeki? Yes, I do understand you. D sub G S H S H S. You ask, what God do you believe? The God that is here now. Water cannot wet it. Fire cannot burn it. Wind cannot dry it. A sword cannot pierce it. There is a pervasiveness in this moment that we all recognize, but very rarely acknowledge. We all know it's there, but don't know that we know it's there. There is a vibrancy, a kind of presence in this moment that we can't seem to put into words. Some try. Some call it love. Others call it vibration. Some try even harder through mystical sounds to try to come up with some kind of name for it. The Tao, the Yud-He Vad-He, Adonai, Jehovah, Allah, Weodin. But words don't seem to do it justice because it's echoed by silence. It knows all but cannot be known, hears all but cannot be heard, sees all but cannot be seen. It is that which is behind your eyes. That which is behind even your thoughts. The very center of this moment. And thank you, Raid, for your rose. Radhe Radhe. And thank you, Hybrid Jen, for your trio of roses. Jai Sita Ram. User 224. You ask, do I ever memorize passages before I ever read them out loud from notes. The only thing that I read from during these lives, at the beginning and at the end, is our daily reading. We're reading the Roar of the Ganges today. But other than that, no, it's all just what I observe in the moment. And Julian, you ask, what are your views on monotheistic religion versus polytheistic religion? They are the same. Some, in their stage of their journey, appreciate the unity of the one. Others, in their stage of the journey, appreciate the diversity in the one. It's all truth. Many different ways of experiencing it. Hello, Billy. And say hi to your sister for me. User 224. You ask, do you think these things out spontaneously, or are they things you have reflected upon? Of course, I am always in search of new ways to explain various things in my experience, and so I may try out, when I'm feeling adventurous, a new attempt at explanation. Times when I know the attention is drawn thin, and I might not have the liberty to explore before the attention goes, I'll use whatever best mode of expression that I've found so far. So I may say something that I've said before, rephrase something that I've reflected on before. But generally, I try to explore from a different angle every time I approach a question. Chloe, you say, I don't think that a monastic life would suit me though. We should celebrate. After you said, I've gone back and forth so many times. I guess that's just so. Well, if you're worried about losing your personality in monastic life, that's certainly not the case. It's not possible to be without a personality. Even the great sage Ramana Maharishi, who was famously, exquisitely non-dual, so much so that he rarely ever referred to anything outside the moment. When his devotees would be chanting his name, he would chant along with them and say his own name. And then they'd ask him, Guruji, why were you chanting your own name with us? He said, well, there is only one Ramana Maharshi for everyone. You can't tell me that's not part of his personality. A divine personality, at the very least. Thank you, Desi, for your rose. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And thank you, Ron, for your 5-finger hearts. Jai Sitaram. And Oscar, thank you for your rose too. Pardon me, I think my tummy is bubbly. Billy, you say, wow, did he schedule doctor's appointments? No, his devotees had to do that for him. Famously, he meditated for months and started neglecting his health, and bugs started eating him up. Literally. Some of the temple goers would wonder, what's that terrible smell? And it was his body, which was literally decaying as he was meditating. And so, enough is enough. When he started to smell, people went, okay, I don't care how deep in bliss you are, you gotta clean yourself up. And thank you, Jesse, for your quintet of roses. Radhe, Radhe. User 224, you ask, have you always been articulate, or have you developed it through speaking? Well, I thank you for perceiving it as articulate. I think, yes. If you tried to listen to me speak a few years ago, several years ago, you'll find the more you go into my childhood, the less I am able to speak clearly. There's recordings of me speaking that my parents did on vacation and stuff, and it's like, wow, I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm amazed that my parents could understand me. Yes, everything requires practice, and I've definitely talked a lot to myself. There is that saying, one of the first signs of going crazy is speaking to yourself. Okay. But also, you're not going to chew on your own experience without talking to yourself. Even if it's just inside your head. To think through an idea requires some kind of monologue that you take with yourself. The best philosophers are the ones that look up into the stars and they just talk as if anyone's listening. And they keep talking. Many people reflect on the experiences they've had with others and the deep conversations they've shared. But you're allowed to have deep conversations with yourself too. No one's forcing them to take place only in the company of other people. I see your question, Estrella. I will answer it in a second. Thank you, Mahina, for your love, yo. Radhe, Radhe. And thank you, Oscar, for your pair of roses. Jai Sita Rama. And Marcia, thank you for your autumn leaves. You must be in the southern hemisphere. Hari Om Tat Sat. And thank you, Hybrid Jen, for your trio of roses. And Rosalien, thank you for your heartbeat. Radhe, Radhe. And Mimesis, thank you for your applause. Estrella, you had asked. I would like you to answer me. What is the meaning of life for you? The meaning of life is the ability to even ask this question. Consider, for example, how amazing it is that life has awoken on this planet, and of all the things it's capable of doing, it's interested in the why. It is curious. It is inquisitive, inquiring, questioning. A cat may look at its own reflection in the mirror and go, "Hey, that's me." I'm hungry. I'm gonna go eat some food. But a human may look at their reflection in the mirror and go, wow, I exist. What does it mean? Is there not meaning in even that itself? Is it not a miracle that in lieu of an answer, the question itself is profound? Let alone what that question may lead to, just the ability to ask, who am I? What am I? Why am I here? How should I conduct my life? That spaciousness that is invoked upon the question itself, now that seems meaningful to me. So, I'm not that interested in the answer to the question. The question itself fascinates me more than any possible answer. Consider, for example, as children, how much wonder we had in the world, but yet no pressure to understand why. There was an acceptance in the absence, and that acceptance was the presence. There is a mystery there, and dissolving ourselves in the mystery. Now that seems purposeful to me. And thank you, BW, for your quintet of roses. Radhe, Radhe. Billy, you share that Estrella is pronounced Estrella. Thank you for reminding me. I had forgotten that the double L makes a palatal approximate yeah. I will now pronounce your name a little more correctly. Estrella, meaning a star. Radhe, Radhe. And thank you, Slim Shady, for your rose. Finally, the real Slim Shady. Laura, you share that you had the most eventful day today in a long time. Then went home, had dinner, fell asleep. Well, I'm sure that sleep was well deserved. Always good to process new experiences. Hello, Dev. Ilham, you ask, why are you frozen? If you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling still, but there is so much aspiration, but little motivation, become like water, Bruce Lee says. When water is in solid form, it is not so flexible. It is brittle. It can shatter. But when water is fluid, it takes the form of the container it's in. Something solid like a mountain. If you bomb it with an aeroplane, it may crumble, it may crash. But if you drop the same bomb in water, it'll only make a splash. The feminine is this quality that we often lack. It's the ability to be flexible in our identity, in our association, to not be attached to one form of life in particular, to let yourself flow from one dimension of life to another. If you're feeling frozen, then melt. Consuela, you ask, is there some philosophical query that you yourself are still perplexed by, Yam? And what is it? It is all of them. I love the feeling of being perplexed. And there are no answers that I am attached to. It may seem as though I may be giving answers during these sanghas, but the truth is, I'm only repackaging the question. Thank you, Meredith, for your paper crane. Radhe, Radhe. If you're feeling frozen, let it go. Let it go. Says Saturnus. Very true. I love that. DYJ. The empty is Shiva. The movement is Shakti. Between them must be love. The love of contemplation and the love of the matter. Claudia Sell, you ask, how many kids do I have? According to my dream, about 200. In my dream, there were all these Buddhist monks meditating around my house. Children. And they had brought me a gift. And on the handle of the gift was a little card. Hundreds of them. And on the card it said, "To Dad, from Buddhist monk number 1, Buddhist monk number 2, Buddhist monk number 3, all the way up to 200 and so." And I woke up very strange feeling that I had 200 Buddhist monk children in my dreams. But they had gratitude towards me, which was nice. And thank you, Hybrid Jen, for your finger heart. Radhe, Radhe. Hello, Cornbread. I am delighted that you are still alive. I had eaten you a few days ago, and was worried that you might miss the Sangha from within. Thank you, Chloe, for your trio of roses. Radhe, Radhe. Hybrid Jen, you share that you dreamt a bunch of cats with galaxies in their eyes walking towards you. Yeah, I've had that dream before, actually. That's funny. One of the most amazing experiences I ever had came from a dream. And in the dream I locked eyes with this cat that had the source of life within its eyes. And it just sent a wave of vibrations through my body like someone had turned the volume to infinity. Like I was being electrocuted by the power of God. And I woke up from that dream like, wow, that was like the most intense sensation I've ever experienced. From making eye contact with a cat in my dream, and then it happened again. TikTok username. You ask, have I ever thought of hosting an in-person Sangha? Maybe one day. This is practice until that day comes. Chloe, you share that you had a dream/nightmare where it seemed like infinity and you were jumping from body to body, each time losing yourself in that life. Ah, that's very beautiful. And symbolic. Thank you, Sarah Sherman, for your half-dozen roses. Radhe, Radhe. Ryan, you ask, is Satguru safe/followable? Use your discernment carefully. It seems like every guru nowadays has some dark side. It's the nature of the Kali Yuga. I was listening to a Himalayan yogi talk about the nature of gurus today and how you're not going to find one with a perfect track record. That your guru could be an alcoholic in samsara, but inwardly be at peace in nirvana. You just can't know, since the external world, this Maya, is now in the Kali era. Naturally, don't drop your judgment. Be careful with who you follow. You may not feel the need to be attached to one guru for long. You can take their virtues, and if it gets too much, you can move to the next. Little Wing Nico, you ask, have I met the black serpent of the other dimension? Sounds like a metaphor for time slithering its way, unseen, hiding in the shadows. Time just creeps up on you, and then it's too late. And thank you, Mimesis, for your applause. Radhe, Radhe. And Tattvam Asi, thank you for your quintet of roses. Hello, Kathy from Tennessee. Claudia Sell, you ask, how do we get to other realities without getting stuck? Become open to new experiences, and you won't get stuck in the old ones. And Ryan, you ask, how can I leave this reality to stay gone? Practice gratitude. The real samsara is not living in the material plane, as you might imagine. The true samsara exists in the mind alone. It's in the conflict between good and bad, right and wrong, pleasure, pain, the dualities of life. Make it your goal to be free from such vices. Find everything to be a blessing. then you are truly in nirvana. You escape living in the material world, not by physically transcending it, but by withdrawing your sense of self from it. It still appears before you, like any other moment. The difference is, you are no longer dependent on outcome for your own sense of happiness. You choose not to give the power of happiness away to the transient, the temporary. Become happy within yourself. Thank you, Miso, for your hand hearts. Radhe, Radhe. And thank you, Sarah, for your heart me. Jai Sita Rama. And thank you, Usha, for your heart me and rose. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. User 224. You ask, gurus may be self-destructive. It makes little sense that they would be destructive to others, no? The true guru is not objectively within any person. It is in the relationship to that person. Just like when I was younger, I was once at my friend's house, and my friend and I were goofing off, being mischievous. We were trying to escape the backyard. And so his father came out and started disciplining my friend. And my friend, feeling defensive, said, "Why don't you tell Liam not to?" It's my name, by the way. And his father said something very wise. He said, "He's not my son. He can choose to respect me or not, but you depend on me. So, that is why I am disciplining you and not him." Similarly, with a guru, it depends who we look up to as one. You could find a guru in your cat. If you believe they have something to teach you, you will learn from them. If you believe they don't have anything to teach you, then you won't learn from them. It's as simple as that. For example, Jesus said, "Be either hot or cold. If you're lukewarm, I'll spit you out." What he's saying is either look up to me as your guru or don't. If you're debating it, then you're not going to learn anything from me. And thank you, user 623, for your tiny yippee. And thank you, Bante, for your rose. Namo Buddhaya. Welcome to the Sangha again. And goodbye, Mr. Mate. Kai Prince music, you say? I didn't want a cat at first, but she grew on me. That's good. I like that. There's a teacher within everyone, which means that we don't have to restrict ourselves from learning from one source. We can let the moment teach us what it needs to teach us in any way that it arises. It may arise in a very stereotypical form, as someone here who talks to you with words, but it also may arrive in a feeling, a sensation. It can arrive in a circumstance, even in a memory. Teachings happen in many forms. And good night, Michelle. Bird, you share that you are a dog person, but now you own 6 cats. Life has a way of opening ourselves up to things we previously were closed off from. That's for sure. Everything is glitching with impermanence. I like that, Bante. User 224, you share that your cat is 19 and a half and has taught you so much. That's a long time to live for a cat. Very precious. I'm so happy that she has taught you many things. She is a huge fighter, sounds like it. That's for sure. Now, we have been live for 3 hours now. So I think it's a good time to start wrapping things up. But before we go, there's a few other segments of this live that I'd like to attend to. The first is a question of the day. The second is another reading from our book. And the third is a chanting. And I've got a special mantra today given to us by actually the author of the book that we're reading, Swami Tadatmanandaji. My question for you to Seems my internet disconnected me as I was introducing the question of the day. Do let me know when my connection has returned. Thank you, Donsuela. But yes, how do you maintain peace during difficult times? Gina, you like to pray a lot. It can be very helpful to express ourselves honestly and outwardly. Lily, you like to say to yourself, what is meant to be will be, dropping expectations we have for how things should or should not be. Amelia, you remember everything has worked out for you, so why worry? Indeed. Even though this world may be always changing, notice that despite all that change, you are still whole. There is still a wholeness. Dansuela, you shared that with the gentle reminder that everything is temporary and that there is wisdom on the other side. Beautifully put. Diana, you give yourself extra love. Yeah, it's important to take care of our own faculties. Joanna, you share that instead of hope that things will get easier, you hold on to hope that no matter the outcome, you'll be okay. True essence of a karma yogi, that you remain the same in victory or defeat. Huey, you internalize and let go usually. I like the word choice of let go there, because there is a kind of release that happens when we question our peace during difficult times. That there's something we're holding on to, and letting that go brings us peace. Saturnus, you realize there is no failure, just success or learning. Very true. As a corollary of the adage, you are only as strong as your opponents, it implies that through being beaten by that which is stronger than you, you become strong yourself to the same extent. And Huey, you add that emotions have been the barrier between life and feeling dead inside for you. Letting go has served you most of your experiences. I'm so delighted that you speak from experience. Well said, Kelsey. Life isn't a problem to solve, but an experience to have. DYJ, you say, you suffer the difficult time, and when it finishes, you'll be pure and full again. Good night, Claudie. Well, sounds like we got many different strategies for becoming or maintaining peace during difficult times. Indeed, it may be a difficult thing itself to to maintain peaceful during these times. But I like the sentiment that many of you raised about letting go. There is a kind of dropping of expectations and an accepting of the way things are. So, the next segment in our list of things to do before we end the live is reading from another section of Roar of the Ganges, a book donated by one of our Sangis from his guru, Swami Tadatmanandaji, talking about his journey to become a renunciant, a monk. Earlier in the live, we were reading about his physical journey to the way of Swami Dayananda's ashram. And we had just arrived at a metal gate whose sign announced in Hindi and English, Swami Dayananda Ashram. I sent the driver back with a generous tip. Then I hoisted my backpack and opened the gate in the masonry wall encircling the ashram grounds. Inside, stucco buildings stood on the left and right, facing a large central courtyard. Before me was an expanse of carefully manicured grass, a deep green oasis surrounded on all sides by beautiful flowering plants and bushes. Tall trees lined the walkways and dotted the park-like campus. Brightly painted benches were strategically placed for enjoying the panoramic view of the river Ganges as it emerged from the mountains. This ashram traces its beginnings to 1962, when a young monk from South India named Swami Dayananda Saraswati came here to live in a thatched hut on the bank of the Ganges. Each day he went to a nearby Anakshetra, a soup kitchen for sadhus, for his meals. He lived a simple, contemplative life, continuing his scriptural studies at a nearby ashram and conducting daily classes for others in the shade of a tree in front of his hut. When his hut accidentally burnt down, a tin shanty took its place. Later, a brick cottage was built, followed by a couple of guest rooms and a kitchen. Slowly, over a span of 3 decades, the Swami Dayananda ashram evolved from this humble beginning. In its present form, more than 80 rooms accommodate residents and guests within the smallest 3-acre compound. The lecture hall is spacious and well-equipped. Hidden above the dining hall is an extensive library that contains many rare Sanskrit books. This ashram is one of 100 or more in Rishikesh. Some of them are simple cottages, and others are so palliato that they make this ashram seem modest by comparison. Ashrams are like monasteries, except that ashram residents need not be monks. Even married couples and families may stay in an ashram. An ashram is primarily a retreat center, a place for seekers to come for meditation, prayer, scriptural study, and other spiritual practices. Each ashram's program is different. Some emphasize yoga, meditation, or scriptural studies, while others are focused more on prayer and devotional singing. Many visitors come for a spiritual holiday, staying a few days or weeks. Some feel drawn to stay months or years. A few find that a particular ashram's lifestyle is ideally suited to their temperaments and choose to live there permanently. As I surveyed the ashram's grounds, Memories of previous visits flooded my mind. More than 2 years had passed since I last came. About 30 residents lived here then. I was the only Westerner among them. The others came from all corners of India and countries like Sri Lanka and Malaysia. Except for a handful of senior swamis who were permanent residents, most of the students were in their 20s and 30s who had come for a few years of scriptural study and meditation. Some I had met on previous visits. Living with them, I became part of their spiritual community. We studied together, prayed together, and dined together. Sometimes we played together, even though flowing robes and saris are not entirely suitable for chasing frisbees. The residents were not saints, although some were indeed saintly. They were of diverse temperaments, a situation that sometimes led to minor bickering. But because they all came for a common purpose, their shared commitment had molded the diverse group into an extended family. I felt happy when they warmly welcomed me into their family each time I arrived. Hello, Junior Geek. I walked to the ashram's cluttered main office, where I found Swami Sudananda, the manager, sitting behind a desk strewn with papers. He stood to greet me and pressed his hands together, saying, "Namaste." I bent over and touched his feet in reverence, as a Hindu decorum requires. Long ago, I overcame my discomfort in doing this when I learned that Hindu children are taught to touch the feet of their parents, relatives, teachers, and elders in general. It is simply a form of respect. I rose and politely replied, "Namaste, Swamiji." Swami Sudananda was a soft-spoken man in his 60s, whose protruding stomach conveyed a sense of contentment. Gray stubble covered his face and head. He shaved them both completely every month. He was unlike any manager I had known, so easygoing and quick to smile. Over the past 20 years, he had personally planned and supervised every aspect of the ashram's construction. He had dedicated his life to this work. In fact, this work was his spiritual practice. Swami Sudananda was clad in orange robes, the customary attire for swamis. He wore a cotton dhoti, a sarong-like cloth wrapped around the waist reaching to the ground. A smaller upper cloth was draped over his shoulders. Monks in India have worn these simple, unstitched robes for thousands of years. They are a visible emblem of the sannyasi's chosen role in life and serves the same purpose as the religious habits worn by Christian monks and nuns. The color of such robes varies somewhat, but it is always a shade of orange, like saffron or ochre. Orange is the color of fire. It symbolizes both purification and light. It is said that spiritual aspirants must first be purified to be prepared for their spiritual journeys. Only then can they receive the light of knowledge, the light that destroys the darkness of ignorance and delusion, the light that reveals truth. Originally, the robes were dyed using geru, red ochre, a reddish-orange earth found here. This natural coloring washes out easily, so frequent treatments were required. Most sannyasis now prefer the convenience of factory-dyed textiles, though a few still maintain the old custom. Sannyasi literally means one who has renounced worldly life. Hindu monks undergo a rite of renunciation, in which they abandon all worldly pursuits and dedicate their lives to spiritual growth. They forsake marriage, career, prestige, and comforts, not merely as a religious austerity, but also for the freedom to live a simple, contemplative life. Most spend their days in meditation, prayer, and study. Some are involved in community service, as in Swami Sudhananda's role as ashram manager. Some become spiritual teachers. Sannyasis are commonly addressed as Swamiji. Swami is a title, like doctor for physicians or reverend for ministers. The affix ji is appended to show both affection and respect. While Swami Sudhananda and I were talking, a frail old woman in an orange sari entered the office. The sari's free end was drawn over her head, framing her deeply lined face. She was also a Swami, or to use the correct feminine form, a Swamini. Most people affectionately called her Mataji, respected mother. She was the matriarch of the ashram. In spite of her 70 years of age, she was always busy, either looking after the ashram's residents and guests, or engaged in her great love, gardening. I touched her feet and greeted her. "Mark, have you had lunch yet?" she asked. "Let me take you to the dining hall." "Thank you, Mataji, but I'm not hungry. I'm really tired after all the travel. Maybe I should rest a while. Besides, according to my watch, it's 2 a.m. right now. It may take a day or two to adjust to the time change." She turned to Swami Sudhananda and asked, "Did you give Mark a comfortable room?" He shrugged his shoulders. "Be sure to give him a room that has been cleaned properly." Swami Sudhananda disappeared into an adjoining room and returned with a key. Shouldering my backpack, I left the office and walked across the courtyard to a 3-story dormitory. I climbed to the 2nd floor and searched for my assigned room. I unlocked the door, flipped on the light switch, and watched the room's single fluorescent tube struggle to life, as if being awakened from a deep slumber. It eventually revealed the sparsely furnished interior. On one side was a wooden cot with a thin mattress. On the other side, a chair and a small table. Blue paint, faded and peeling, covered walls that were otherwise unadorned. The bathroom had a sink, shower, and the squat-style toilet common throughout Asia, but no hot water. Simple accommodations, to be sure, but ashrams are not meant to be luxurious. On the other hand, compared to some ashrams I had stayed in, I would give this place a 5-star rating. I threw open the window and gazed at the tree-lined lane adjacent to the ashram. Through the willowy trees, I could see the rounded outlines of nearby mountains. I started to unpack, but decided it could wait. I was too tired. I turned off the buzzing fluorescent light and lay down on the cot, examining a large spider web on the ceiling. I felt surprisingly comfortable, perhaps because I had stayed in an almost identical room the last time I was here. The raucous squawking of a flock of parrots startled me for a moment, but I soon fell asleep listening to the faint murmur of rushing water in the distance. Pardon me. The soothing voice of the Ganges. Alright, let us pause our reading there for now. So, Swami Tadatmanandaji, or as he was then known as, Mark, has arrived in his ashram and has fallen asleep to compensate for his jet lag. We will see what adventures awaits when he awakes later. Tomorrow we will be beginning our Sangha again with a reading. Tomorrow is also ASMR Sunday, so it'll be whispered the whole time. And thank you to those who sent the gift whilst I read. Bobby Sue, thank you for your heart me team bracelet and cheer you up. Radhe Radhe. And thank you, Ron, for your pair of finger hearts. Jai Sita Ram. Good night, Purusha's mouth. And salutations to Kali on behalf of Holiday Ask. Thank you, Kayla, for your rose and heart me. Thank you, Bobby Sue, for another finger heart. And Melinda, thank you for your rose. Before we end tonight, Swami Tadatmananda, through his devotee, Sky Guardian, has given us a mantra to chant before we close our Sangha today. I will put the traditional Devanagari up there, and I realize that it's very transparent, so let me increase its opacity. Here we are. And I'll put the English below it, and it's also very transparent, so allow me to increase its opacity. This is the first time I'll be chanting it, so I'm gonna learn it with you. We have some audio to play in the background, but it is Om Namo Bhagavate Dakshinamurtaye Mahyam Medham Pragyam Prayacha Svaha. And it means something to the effect of Om. Salutations to Bhagavan Dakshinamurti. Bless me with memory, the capacity to think properly, clarity and wisdom. And it's a very rare mantra, so we are all very fortunate to chant it together. I am sure after the few first repetitions we'll get into a good rhythm, myself included. Thank you, Gina, for your pair of roses. Let me quiet the crown chakra music and put on, here it is, the Dakshinamurti Mula Mantra.
Om Namo Bhagavate Dakshinamurtaye Mayam Medam Pragnam Prayacha Swaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Dakshinamurtaye Mayam Medam Pragnam Prayacha Swaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Dakshinamurtaye Mayam Medam Pragnam Prayacha Swaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Dakshinamurtaye Mayam Medam Pragnam Prayacha Swaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Dakshinamurtaye Mayam Medam Pragnam Prayacha Swaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Dakshinamurtaye Mayam Medam Pragnam Prayacha Swaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Dakshinamurtaye Mayam Medam Pragnam Prayacha Swaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Dakshinamurtaye दक्षिणामूर्तये मयं मेदां प्रज्ञां प्रयच्छ स्वाहा। ॐ नमो भगवते दक्षिणामूर्तये मयं मेदां प्रज्ञां प्रयच्छ स्वाहा। ॐ नमो भगवते दक्षिणामूर्तये मयं मेदां प्रज्ञां प्रयच्छ स्वाहा। ॐ नमो भगवते दक्षिणामूर्तये मयं मेदां प्रज्ञां प्रयच्छ स्वाहा। ॐ नमो भगवते दक्षिणामूर्तये मयं मेदां प्रज्ञां प्रयच्छ स्वाहा। ॐ नमो भगवते दक्षिणामूर्तये मयं मेदां प्रज्ञां प्रयच्छ स्वाहा। ॐ नमो भगवते दक्षिणामूर्तये मयं मेदां प्रज्ञां प्रयच्छ स्वाहा। ॐ नमो भगवते दक्षिणामूर्तये मयं मेदां प्रज्ञां प्रयच्छ स्वाहा। ॐ नमो भगवते दक्षिणामूर्तये मयं मेदां प्रज्ञां प्रयच्छ स्वाहा। ॐ नमो भगवते दक्षिणामूर्तये मयं मेदां प्रज्ञां प्रयच्छ स्वाहा। ॐ नमो भगवते दक्षिणामूर्तये मयं मेदां प्रज्ञां प्रयच्छ स्वाहा।
All right, that was 21 repetitions, which is, I guess, a sacred number. Now, thank you all for chanting with me or just listening, and I would be able to share this audio. I can copy and paste the link of it, or I guess the title of the mantra, in chat for you. There you are. The Lord Dakshinamurti Mula Mantra. You may be able to copy it, or if not, take a screenshot of it, and I'm sure you'll be able to find it just by looking it up. I thank you for Sky Guardian for sending us this mantra for us to chant together. And thank you to PG for your rose. Jensing, thank you for your 7 roses. Radhe, Radhe. Kelsey, you share that your 3-year-old sang with us too. How lovely is that? Young children are often such spiritual beings. Thank you, Linda, for your 19 roses. And Bobby Sue, thank you for your 1, 2, 3, 4 roses. Sadness, you share that 2 nights in a row when chanting, your dog Bodhi has jumped on you and licked your face to Nirvana. How lovely that is. If there's one language we could use to communicate with animals, it is Sanskrit. And thank you, Dansuela, for being here and for attending as a moderator as well. I appreciate the moderation done by our little team. Fortunately, it seems like the past few times there has been not much of a need for moderation, which is good. It's better that the mods are here and no moderation needed than the mods not be here and the moderation needed. Thank you, Huey, for your roses. Radhe, Radhe. And thank you, Ragnhildar, for your rose. Namaskar, Mahina. I will be uploading the recording of this live stream to my Yamsox Lives YouTube channel. That's linked in the link tree in my bio. I also have another YouTube channel that is the Yamsox ASMR. And there, a few days ago, I uploaded a video talking you down from a panic attack. In case that's something, pardon me, that you feel like you would benefit from, you're welcome to save that video for another time. It's a 30-minute collection of various techniques that I use whenever I'm anxious, walking you through validation from the body, mind, emotions, mind. I said that twice. All the way up to the spirit. And thank you, Jene, for your paper crane. Jai Sitaram. Good night, Saturnus. And that's all the announcements I have to make. Of course, there are my tiny beanies, or toques we call them in Canada, that has our mascot, the tiny that says yippee, as well as Yamsox. Socks with yams on them, all the way around. It's never expected, but if you want something in return for supporting me, that option's there at the store section, the link tree in my bio. They are quite expensive, to be completely honest, but most of that is gone towards the actual production of it. And these are very high quality clothing items. I know this because I'm an adventurer, and I put my clothes through a lot of torment when I adventure, and they've stood up. The dyes haven't worn away, nor have they fallen apart. So they are Yam Adventure proved. Proved? I guess so. Thank you. Thank you, Jenny, for your 6 tiny dinies. Yippee! And thank you, Kim, for your trio of tiny dinies. Here, I'll put it on again. Yippee! And thank you, Tatvamasi, for your 5 roses. Radhe, Radhe. And thank you, Mahina, for your rose too. Before we end, I like this question that Allura asks. What is the best way for our soul to be connected to the universe? Through this remembering that your soul is an expression of the universe. When we keep that in mind, naturally we become servants of life. Since we are attending to other expressions of that universe equal to our own. Radhe Krishna, Radhe Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Radhe Radhe, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Shyam Shyam, Radhe Radhe. Thank you, Gina. I will make sure to not drink too cold water, and I'll take care on your behalf. Good night, and let this be an offering, like a lotus petal, at the feet of Sri Radha Krishna. May you all have a beautiful rest of your present moment.